there is a massive protest
behind us.
Our hotel is right next to the East Side Gallery.
We are here at the top of the TV tower.
It's definitely a very somber atmosphere.
It is what it is.
So we actually managed to have a smooth travel day. A long one, but smooth.
Yeah, we can explain more when we get to the room, but surprisingly, the small bumps that we had were manageable.
Which I think is just a sign of us getting better at this, knowing how to navigate things better, knowing sort of what to look out for in advance, mistakes not to make twice or 6 times.
I also ate like recently before.
Yeah, Lauren had a lot of food in her system, so the hangriness was kept at bay. And so now
we have 3 beds.
We have 3 beds? So yeah, it turned out we did have 3 beds, which we pushed together to make one giant bed that we called Mega Bed. Mega Bed. And then, once we were settled in, we went out, did a little bit of walking around, got some food, and since it was a long travel day, we pretty much called it a night. Okay, well, good morning. I realized that we didn't film anything else last night. It's because nothing else really happened. We just got some food, went back to the hotel. But it is a new day. It is a snowy day and a cold day. But we didn't realize that our hotel is located right next to the East Side Gallery. And what that essentially is, well, it used to be part of the Berlin Wall, but it is now, I think, the largest or longest open air gallery in the world. And so just this long stretch here for blocks is this wall with just beautiful murals, a lot of it very political, a lot of social commentary and things on this wall. But it's just gorgeous to look at, just walking along. And yeah, last night we had no idea as we were walking that we were essentially just next to the Berlin Wall. We're gonna see more of it later. There are various sections throughout the city. We're gonna go to the memorial in a bit. But I mean, just how cool. This is essentially a very, I think, good and unique way to make light of something that once represented something very dark.
And today is December 23rd, so we've got Christmas Eve and Christmas Day coming up, and Brian and I are going to try to do all the things that we want to do in Berlin today as far as the touristy stuff, because we don't know what's going to be open, what's going to be closed tomorrow and Christmas Day. So it's going to be a long, packed day, but we're excited.
And so with that being said, our next location is
the Reichstag building. I probably mispronounced that, but we're here. Now, unfortunately, we're not getting the full effect because there's construction all over, including this big front part, which is really the place that we wanted to see it. It's also booked up to go into the big dome, like throughout into the new year, basically. So because of the holidays, the timing that we're here, and just how we've been planning the trip, we are not able to go in. But that's okay because we have a lot of other really impressive and amazing things that we're about to see.
Such as this, the Brandenburg Gate. I believe, I'm not sure, we'll have to check. I believe this was built over the original gate. Napoleon famously came through here. It's one of the most well-known landmarks here in Berlin. So of course we were going to visit. Didn't realize how close it was to the Reichstag building. It's literally just right down the road. And I mean, it definitely has a very Roman feel to it, going through the pillars. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I don't know, whenever you're like in the location, sometimes it feels like you think it's gonna feel. This area is a bit smaller than I was expecting, to be honest. It's not entirely underwhelming or anything like that. We definitely get to explore it at our leisure, unlike the Reichstag building, but yeah. It's also very cold, so it's hard for us to just sit here and soak it all in. But regardless, at least it's not snowing, and we're gonna keep exploring the city. So let's go. And now we can say that we too have walked through the Brandenburg Gate. So we're kind of hurrying to our next stop, which is Checkpoint Charlie, because there is a massive protest
behind us, so many police and stuff like that. And we believe that like the protesters are coming down this way, so
yeah,
we're gonna look at Checkpoint Charlie
and then move on as quickly as possible. Yeah. We think we'll move on now because, I mean, you can literally hear them, and there's a huge police presence, but it's still a little ominous to have this giant crowd just marching down the street.
And we do want to say it's peaceful.
Yeah, it is peaceful, yes.
We've never seen anything like this. This isn't our country, so I think we might like step into this gift shop and just hang out till it passes, just so we can be out of the way,
right,
and feel safe.
And just a quick little note, this is merely us showing you what we observed when we were over there. This is not us making any kind of statement or taking any kind of stance on the war one way or the other.
So one of our last stops tonight is this Berlin Wall Memorial. There is a lot to look at and read. This specific thing caught my eye and I think is pretty wild. This is the cement base of a guard post that's placed over the remains of the cemetery wall that's been preserved. So yeah, it's kind of like surreal being here and seeing all the stuff that we learned about in school, to actually be here. And I think they did a great job at giving you a ton of information when you come, in English too, which is very helpful, and a lot of the stuff, like I said, is preserved. So there's more that way, so we're going to keep exploring while we have a little bit of light before it gets completely dark.
Now you've walked through, and I've stood inside the Berlin Wall. Interesting. And it just goes on and on for several blocks. We've been walking for about 5 minutes and there's more to it. It's definitely a very somber sort of atmosphere, but we're now heading to Alexanderplatz. I think that's how you say it. We saw some Christmas stuff happening there when we were taking the U-Bahn, so yeah, I think we'll raise our spirits with a little bit of Christmas.
after a long day of exploring Berlin, we are having a hearty meal. Of course, Brenda and I got spaghetti. But, okay, that was sarcasm. I had a pizza, Brian did have spaghetti, but we just had to get the spaghetti ice cream. Let's try it. Literally just tastes like ice cream. It's good though.
Hello everybody, this is Editor Brian here, finishing the video that you are currently watching. I just want to make a quick note. Days 53 and 54, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, there's no footage at all, and there's a reason for that. Something happened on Christmas Eve that we'll talk about in the next video. I believe we eventually mentioned it on camera, but suffice it to say that it was a very dark and depressing 2 days. We spent it entirely in the hotel, and at one point we were, and I do not exaggerate, we were in the process of changing our return flights so that we could fly home immediately. Thankfully, through talking to both of our families, particularly my family, you'll understand why, it was decided that we would continue the trip. And so, I don't really want to say too much more because, as I said, the next video really goes into detail, but our holiday in Berlin and just our time, most of the time in Germany in general, was really dark, and we did our best to not show it and to remain optimistic, but there's nothing to show for days 53 and 54. But thankfully day 55, the day after Christmas, rolled around and things looked a little brighter. Down at the end of this road is Brandenburg Gate, where we were a few days ago. Kind of reminds me of the Avenue Champs-Élysées with the Arc de Triomphe at the end.
So we are in a very famous part of these gardens here, and this is just one statue, which I read on an information sign back there that most of this area remained clear from destruction from the war, except that there are bullet holes that you could see from the fighting in the war.
So I believe seeing this means that we have seen all three areas with sections of the Berlin Wall in the city. I don't think there are any others. This is obviously the smallest one, but also seems to be slightly taller than the others. Maybe that's just our imagination. We've definitely seen a lot of history in our few days here, that's for sure. So after a bit of exploration of what felt like a very modern section of the city, it was time to move on to what quickly became our favorite part of Berlin. have to say, I think this is definitely the most impressive piece of architecture in the entire city, at least that we've seen so far. I don't know about you, what would you say? Would you?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of beautiful churches, but this one, I don't know, this is probably the biggest, I would have to say.
I would agree with that, yeah.
And we're gonna go inside, but we want to take some pictures before while the sun is out because it's about to set. But this is definitely like the most interesting, prettiest area that we've seen in Berlin so far.
Right, yeah. A lot of Berlin started to feel very, I mean, obviously because of the war, a lot of it's very modern. A lot of it sort of, I don't know, wasn't blowing us away architecturally, but this whole area, there's a lot of impressive stuff. So this definitely must be like the older section of the city.
So unfortunately, we aren't going to be able to go into the cathedral. They have a special Christmas event happening, so it's kind of closed off to the public who just want to see it. It's just for people who bought tickets for this event. And we leave tomorrow morning, so it's a shame, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but we still have, well, we definitely have one really big thing that we already have tickets for coming up tonight that we're excited for in a few hours. So we're gonna explore like the older part of Berlin. I'll put it on screen here. I don't know how it's pronounced. We'll explore that for a few hours, and then we will go get an amazing view of the city and
Wrap up our time in Berlin.
that's where we'll be very, very soon.
A few moments later.
So we are here at the top of the TV tower seeing the entire city of Berlin from above. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and we leave it tomorrow. This is our last night here in the city.
And we're going to spend it up here to be able to see it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's always nice to get this perspective of the city that you've been traveling around. But what a way to go out. I think we'll wrap things up
Here.
We will, of course, see you next week. And where are we going to see them?
We're going to see you in Prague.
We'll see you then.
Prague is amazing.
This is the downside of this city. It's just so crowded.
This has to be the coolest toy store I've ever seen.